Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Christy Taylor, founder of CareerCoachRx and Work Solutions LLC. And I want to welcome you to the first podcast, the first episode of the CareerCoachRx Podcast. Denise, are you there?
I am.
All right. So I'm speaking with Mrs. Denise Thomas today, founder of Get Ahead of the Class. Denise is a TEDx speaker, international best-selling author, and coach to parents of college-bound teens. She inspires, educates, and equips parents to take an active role in supporting their children to live a life of financial freedom. And so we are going to be having a great conversation with Denise today and talking about her upcoming conference and new book. So, hi Denise, how are you doing today?
Well, hey, Christy, thanks for having me on.
So, Denise, let's start by you just telling us a little bit more about yourself, what inspired you to do the work that you are doing, that you are currently doing.
Well, thanks for asking. Well, I was like your typical family with a bunch of kids, figuring that eventually my kids would go to college. But like the majority of Americans, did not save for our college expenses. But just before my daughter started high school, my husband was laid off. He had had this job with this company for 15 years. And layoffs were never an option. He was never, the head on the table that might be cut. But this time he was. So it didn't take long for him to get another job, which was great. But then he got laid off again. It was then that I realized we were not paying attention to what was happening in our industry as a whole.
Okay.
And then the stock market crashed. So it wasn't just the industry, it was our entire country.
Wow.
With the stock market crash, we lost almost all of our lifetime savings, our 401k. But we continued to pay the bills. That is what we do. You still have money, you pay the bills. And then the money started running out. And I realized we had no choice but to declare bankruptcy. With this bankruptcy was liquidation. That means if you could touch it, it was sold. Everything was gone. Books, toys, Christmas decorations, furniture, pots and pans.
Wow.
Having a garage sale, we've all either been to a garage sale or had garage sales ourselves. And this is a whole different feeling, though, when you have strangers coming into your home, making an offer on the pot I was cooking my dinner in.
Wow.
I had to ladle the food out of the pot and wash my $200 Magnolite pot that I received as a wedding gift and sell it to someone for $5. But that wasn't the hardest part. Because we had gone bankrupt and the house was also in foreclosure, we had to move to a small apartment. That meant our 2 dogs also had to go.
Wow. Tremendous loss.
That was, if you're dog people, if you have pets, I mean, these are not pets. These are your furry children. You love them with all your heart. That was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And I watched my children running into the house crying as our 2 dogs were being taken away by their new owner. Well, a few months later, I'm sitting in this new apartment and I suddenly realized that my daughter was starting high school. College was literally around the corner. How are we going to pay for this? We have no savings, no 401k to borrow against, no house to borrow equity from, and that bankruptcy means we can't co-sign for those student loans everyone loves to talk about. See, they forget to mention about that, every 2 years when it becomes a political football. Your kids can only get a small amount of student loans by themselves. The rest requires a co-signer. And that co-signer, that's you, parents or grandparents. So since loans were completely taken off the table, I started doing the research because in my heart, I realized that there just had to be a way that my kids could go to school. This was what we anticipated their whole lives. They were going to go to college. So in my research, I found that yes, 70% of college students graduate with student loan debt. And that debt can be anywhere from $5,000 to as many zeros as you'd like to add.
70%.
70%.
Wow.
But that means 30% are graduating debt-free.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal was to figure out what are they doing that the rest of us don't know about. Sure, there's a small percentage of parents that are wealthy or worked their butt off their whole lives and scrimped and saved for their kids' education.
Mm-hmm.
There's a small segment that are just geniuses and they get full scholarships. By the way, that's only 1% of college students. A much, much smaller percentage
Mm-hmm.
are kids that are student athletes who have enough scholarships to cover college. That's
Well,
a
you
myth.
really break the myth there, because we always get the impression that that students are being given scholarships by the droves, full scholarships, and that the athletic route is always the most guaranteed route. But from what you're saying,
Mm-mm.
that is actually a lot less of an opportunity in athletics.
Absolutely. It's an extremely small percentage of high school athletes that even get to play college ball, much less those who actually get paid for it. And what you'll find if you know a student athlete, a college athlete who actually has an athletic scholarship, what you'll find is that if college is being paid for on scholarship, it's not the athletic scholarship that's covering it. It may be a piece of it, but the majority of that is going to be an academic, merit-based scholarship based on their high school GPA and test scores.
Wow.
I know it's pretty.
It's really
pretty
the total opposite of what you hear.
Yeah.
So
There's so much of that. There's so many myths. I go over probably 14 or 16 different myths that we as families and high school counselors have been believing for the last 3 decades that are literally keeping our kids in debt. Because if you as a parent, let's talk about the athletic thing just a brief minute. If you're a parent of a student athlete in high school and you believe this is their ticket to college, what happens when it's not? Well, we've been telling Johnny all this time he's going to be going on an athletic scholarship, and now we have to find the money. Well, guess who starts hawking their house? Now next thing you know, they're talking about a home equity line of credit to cover their kids' college. I mean, this is not the way to go.
So you have gone through, so as we continue this discussion, let me just reiterate some of the things that you shared with us that got you to this point of success. So 2 layoffs, a stock market crash, lost a 401k, lost your home, had to scale down. You a few months out before your daughter enters high school, you get this reality check of, we have to pay for college. And so you start to do the research, and you recognize that because of all these things that you guys have experienced and been through, that there's only going to be certain ways that you're going to be able to support her. And signing loans is not going to be one of them, right? So
I wish we could.
So what did you do? And then you're sharing all this great information about, like, you're actually breaking a lot of myths, even as somebody who's been involved in education for quite a number of years that I didn't even know. So you're breaking a lot of myths by saying, okay, less than 1% of students get full scholarship rise, and for athletics, it's even less. So what did you do? How did you help your daughter?
I'm glad you asked that question.